Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley. My name is Mitty Cheng, and I'm president for this Rotary eClub. Thank you for joining us this week for our weekly program. This week, we are featuring a program about Rotaract Australia MDIO, Multi-District Information Organization. I'm very excited to be introducing to you all our guest speaker shortly, but before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce the people we have on the call right now. So if you're on the call, feel free to turn on your video. From the order I see on my left, we have Nathan, or Nate. Nate is one of our members from Tokyo, and he is also a teacher as well as a musician, and he's currently visiting in Canada right now, Nova Scotia. And below him, we have Stephen Chagrin, or he goes by Shags. He's our membership chair. He's based in California. And he does some financial planning. And so definitely, he also makes really great food. So definitely chat with Shags if you ever are in the Bay Area and are looking for something tasty. Next to Shags, we have Elsa, who is our Rotaract guest from Oklahoma with 100% perfect attendance for all of our live recordings this Rotary year. Awesome. And next to Elsa, we have Brett Sham, who is a recent Rotaract alumnus in Australia and the Sydney area. And Brett is joining us for one of our live calls right now, but he's also been attending some of our meetings. So welcome, Brett. And at the very bottom, we have Yvonne Kwan, who is one of our members and new directors for our club officer board based here in California. Yvonne is an educator, so she teaches little kids. Now, without further ado, I think Siri's talking in the background to me. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce to you all our speaker. Our speaker is Jake Weragoda. He is an immediate past Rotaract Australia MDIO chairman, and he has been in Rotaract for several years and is essentially a Rotaract superstar in Australia, and he's going to be talking to us about Rotaract Australia and some of the events. Jake, please take it away.
Thanks, Mitty. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the introduction. I am going to be sharing a little bit about what Rotaract Australia is all about today. This is me. So I've been involved with Rotaract Australia for about 4 years now, and a Rotaractor since 2007. I've been to several conventions and fortunate enough to be in California this time last year, speaking at the Big West Rotaract Institute. So what I'm going to get into firstly is share with you a little bit about our Australian Rotaract Games, one of our major projects or major events that we do run in Australia. So the games are hosted by Rotaract clubs or districts. We hold these annually. They're sporting games, they're mind games, brain teasers. It's held across a weekend. It's a lot of fun and it's very social. Over the past 5 years, we've held the games annually in cities around Australia, in Wollongong, the Gold Coast, Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney this year, and Perth next year, which I'll touch on a little bit more. The Rotaract Games that we hold, the reason for it is to really bring Rotaractors and Rotarians together. Australia is a massive country, almost the same area size as the USA. So it's huge, and it's a chance for us to get Rotaractors from all around the country and internationally together in the one place. The purpose is really about building those networks and friendships for future projects, for future connections, and also to really engage our Rotaractors and keep them inspired to participate. I've got no doubt that events like this, like our international conventions and our national conference in Australia, really do that. They bring Rotaractors together. They help Rotaractors realise the size of our organisation, that Rotary and Rotaract is a global organisation with hundreds of thousands and millions of members all around the world, and it gives people a chance to really make those connections. So here is a snapshot of Rotaract Games this year, and this is one of our great Rotaractors, Marloes, who runs her own business. This is us warming up with a little bit of yoga and dance prior to the games kicking off in Sydney this year. The games, we've got the teams all dressed up in their kits. We have teams of 8 to 10 or 12 people, either from the same Rotaract club or Rotary club or intermingled together. We've had international guests as well, and in Sydney this year we had guests from 5 other countries as well as Australia. Just before we kicked off the games, one of the initiatives, it's right next to the Harbour Bridge, in Sydney Harbour, and we held the games at the Sydney University. On the first day, we held some activities such as frisbee, soccer, giant checkers, giant Jenga as well, and really there were brain teasers as well. It was about allocating points, a little bit of friendly competition, and also having a good time. Following that, so in Sydney this year, one of the initiatives we did was an amazing race, or a scavenger hunt around the city. It gave everyone a chance to really get to know Sydney, and with that came some fun challenges. This was one of them, where one of the challenges was to dress up with different wigs, and there were points allocated for each of the different photos and challenges that we did. There were challenges around taking photos with the street performers, and here's one and another as well, and all the teams. The teams covered several miles or kilometres around the city. We had to make a human pyramid in front of the cathedral in Hyde Park, right in the middle of Sydney. And there's also drinking a Pepsi in front of the big Coca-Cola sign in Sydney's famous King's Cross. Rotaract Games is really all about a social weekend. Yes, there's some competition. There's the teams get together, but it's all about networking and building those relationships. Generally within your own club. At the end of the games, the winning team, they had some money to donate to their favourite charity. So there was a community aspect to it as well. We had really strong engagement with the Rotary clubs in the local area too, with some participation and also involvement in some of the other activities around the weekend. On both the Friday and Saturday nights, we held social events, at a bar to really get to know each other as well. I'm now going to jump into games for next year. So in 2017, it'll be our 6th annual Rotaract Games. I'm going to show you the video for next year's games. Let's hope this works. So as you can see from the introductory video for Perth, our 6th annual games are sure to be a huge success. Perth is a beautiful city. It's one of the sunniest places in Australia. It's on the west coast, so a bit like California. It's a great place to be with some really great beaches. It's really well known for its wineries and breweries down at Fremantle as well as some of the wildlife which you saw in the video. Our games in Perth are chaired by an American, so you know it's going to be fantastic. But no, in all seriousness, we're really looking forward to our Australian Rotaract Games at the start of March, the first weekend in March in 2017. And we'd love to welcome a Team USA over to compete as well. I will go on and touch on a couple of other key projects that Rotaract Australia is working on. And the main one I'd like to share with you is our Rotaractors Against Malaria project. This has been ongoing for around 3 years now. And this is an initiative that the Rotaractors in our country voted on to work hard on. Over the last 12 months, we've established a really strong committee at the national level. And as you can see there, we've raised around $20,000 towards Rotarians Against Malaria predominantly. Rotarians Against Malaria is a Rotary action group based generally in the South Pacific, so the Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. And most of our money's gone towards that. And the main activity that they do is drop bed nets to those in need. A bed net, they cost around $10, and they carry the chemicals that not only kill the mosquitoes but also repel mosquitoes, so that when people are sleeping, they use these to cover themselves and protect themselves. It's not well known, but malaria is one of the greatest killers around. The statistics from 2014 suggest that more than 400,000 people die each year from malaria, and so it's definitely a cause that's really important and something that Rotaractors around Australia are supporting very strongly. Over the next 12 months, we also hope to get involved in the actual volunteer work, the dropping of the bed nets in the Solomons and PNG and also East Timor. We do have ongoing fundraisers, and a big one I'd like to highlight is in early September. Actually, Mitty, when you're here in Australia, there'll be a big fundraiser in Melbourne, Rotaractors Against Malaria Gala Ball. So it's definitely the key project for Rotaractors to be focusing on. Rotaract Australia is really going from strength to strength, and over the last almost 9 years now that Rotaract Australia has been around, particularly the last 2 years, we've really lifted. The number of clubs in Australia are growing. Our engagement levels with Rotary and our Rotaractors is something we're really focused on, and all of our objectives, projects and initiatives are really driven around inspiring our Rotaractors to greater participation and engagement, both in our organisation and in the community. We're doing this through training some of our club leaders and our district Rotaract representatives, and we work closely with the likes of Big West Rotaract on some of these goals. We have Australian Rotaract Awards, a bit like the Oscars for Rotaract, and we also do a lot of sharing of information and resources through our website. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you guys today, and really encourage you to engage with Rotaract and Rotaract Australia where possible. We'd love to collaborate on projects and events, and also engage through our social media. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jake. So we're going to go ahead and swap really quick. So Jake, it was a wonderful presentation. So do have a few questions for you, and then folks on the call, when you guys are ready, go ahead and hit the raise hand button or just wave at me. Jake, could you actually exit out of full screen for us really quick?
Yeah.
or actually end your screen share.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to hop to our gallery view. So if you want to turn on your videos, folks, feel free to do that. Jake, so a few questions. Could you talk a little bit about the history of Rotaract Australia first, about maybe how long you guys have been around, and then also about how many Rotaract clubs or Rotaractors approximately that you know of are in Rotaract Australia?
Sure thing. So Rotaract Australia started in 2007 through the work of some very passionate Rotaractors from around the country. The MDIO was formed in 2007, and where we sit today, we've got 21 Rotary districts around the country, of which 20 currently have Rotaract clubs. All 20 of those with Rotaract clubs are signatories to the Rotaract Australia MDIO. So we've got everyone on board supporting and working closely. There are around 86 Rotaract clubs in Australia across those districts, with them predominantly focused in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane, but we do have them spread all around the country. There are around between 1,500 and 2,000 Rotaractors through those 86 Rotaract clubs. So we are growing. I know that just a couple of years ago, we were down around the mid-60s in terms of the number of clubs. So around plus 20 growth in the last 2 years.
Terrific. And Brett, I see you have your hand up, so I'm going to go ahead and have you ask your question.
Yeah, so Jake, you said over the last 2 years, the MDIO has become much more effective. What's driven that increase in effectiveness, and how can other MDIOs learn from that?
That's a great question, Brett, and I know you've been a part of it. We've really dialed up our communication. So a lot of Rotaractors don't really know what an MDIO is. And so we've been really focused on not necessarily trying to explain what an MDIO is, but by really just sharing information on some of the projects and initiatives we're doing and making them a huge success. And we've done that through the Australian Rotaract Conference. That's been going for 6 or 7 years, and that goes from success to success through the games, through our malaria project, through the training. So with Rotaract training, I touched on it briefly, but we ran Rotaract training in 6 different cities for our club officers this year, as well as district Rotaract representative training as well. So really 7 different programs we ran, and we had a dedicated person on that. So really through demonstrating and leading by example on our projects and events, have we been able to clearly show what Rotaract Australia is all about. And in turn, that's increased sort of that engagement from our Rotaractors. So I think that's definitely something we're working closely with some of the other MDIOs on. And that's probably why we're getting stronger and stronger, because people are really responding to some of the initiatives we're running at a national level.
Terrific. Thanks, Jake. Could you tell us a little bit about how the leadership structure works for Rotaract Australia, and then also tie in there like how the events are run? I'm assuming they're run by your MDIO.
Yeah, we're really fortunate to have Travis Holland now as our chairperson for Rotaract Australia. Travis, like all of our executive, they're very experienced in Rotaract. We've got a board. We're just in the process of sort of adjusting the structure a little bit. And in fact, this Sunday we'll be formalising all of that with our district Rotaract representatives. But we've got a board of 5 members, or a Rotaract Australia executive of 5 members. Underneath that sit 5 different or 6 different committees. I'm going to be chairing 2 this Rotary year. One is the Australian Rotaract Conference for 2017, and also our board of members for past Rotaract chairs. We also have committees in the communications and marketing space, as well as training, and a few others as well. Rotaractors Against Malaria is one. Then obviously a very flat structure. So I was going to say underneath, but sort of next to that, or technically above, sit our council of district Rotaract representatives. So the 20 district leaders we have. And that's really our structure. That's our team that make up the committees, that make up our executive and get the work done. For games and conference in the past, like I mentioned, we've tendered those out to Rotaract clubs and districts to run. This year, we're starting to bring some of that in-house as we retain some of that experience and leadership through past district Rotaract representatives, past presidents, and also past Rotaract Australia executive members. We're giving those people more jobs effectively and using their experience and allocating some of that responsibility, which is why I'll be chairing the Australian Rotaract Conference for next year, why we have Stephanie, our wonderful American DRR in Perth, chairing ARG, Australian Rotaract Games, in Perth for next year. So that's sort of how we run our structure and run our projects and events.
Terrific. And I'm going to pass it over to our member, Nate, who has a question for you, and then I'll come to you, Brett.
All right, thanks, Mitty. Thanks for the presentation, Jake. That was really interesting. I'm a relatively new Rotary or Rotarian, so these kinds of meetings are really good for me. Kind of learn how things work. You mentioned collaboration, with other Rotary clubs and other Rotaract, groups. Has Rotaract Australia, have you kind of hammered out some ideas for how you want to collaborate, and do you want to collaborate beyond Rotary clubs and that kind of thing? Has there been any kind of discussion? Because I'm big on collaboration in my own career as an international school teacher, and kind of curious.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. Look, if I'm honest, we are trying to stay focused as well. So we are focused on our sort of big 5 or 6 initiatives, which I've talked about. So games, conference, Rotaractors Against Malaria, training, and then really marketing and building the brand of Rotaract and Rotary. I think that's all. However, we do touch on a lot of other areas, and a key focus for us over the next 12 months moving forward, something we've identified as a bit of a gap, is getting closer with Rotary, with both our Rotarians on the ground here, our districts, and then Rotary International. So in terms of collaboration, we see that there are still so many opportunities to bridge that gap, to strengthen relationships and to collaborate on some of the initiatives that we've already got in place, those 5 things that I've talked about. But obviously I suppose that's from our angle. We do have people come to us, both other MDIOs, Rotaractors who are passionate about something, and Rotarians come to us and I suppose put forward an idea on what we can do to work together. So we're definitely open to that. We've done a lot of what I'd call public relations on a lot of projects that people are passionate about or come directly from a Rotary or a Rotaract club. Because we've got that reach, we've got really good social media reach, and we've got a huge database for our newsletter and the like. And I'm always thinking, if a Rotaract club or Rotary club's trying to promote their project, why can't we take it to a national level or even international? And we've had some success looking back in the past where we ran a social media campaign in the Asia Pacific, so through the Asia Pacific Regional Rotaract Conference. So that had huge reach. That was big. So there are a lot of initiatives we can do, particularly around public relations and promotions of some of the existing projects that people might come to us with. Awesome.
Right, I'm going to pass it over to you, and then we'll come to Elsa for a question.
My question is almost a follow-up to Nathan's to a degree. So you've obviously got some great experiences and knowledge that you talked about, and no doubt there are other Rotaractors as well that have that experience and knowledge as well. What can Rotarians be doing to make sure that they capture that, and then make sure that you then bring that through the Rotary family, so that we don't lose that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, Brett. That's a great question, and something we should sit down and have a beer or a coffee and we could discuss for hours on end. I think we're seeing it a lot here in Australia, and the relationships, generally speaking, are getting a lot stronger. We're building our profile in terms of, so when I say we, Rotaract Australia, some of our Rotaract leaders, particularly the outspoken district Rotaract representatives, they're really building profiles within their Rotary districts. And as Rotaract Australia, we're building it across those 21 districts we have here. I think there's still a lot of ground to cover. It's a lot of hard work, but as we continue to do that, the value and the experience and knowledge of some of our, really high profile, really good Rotaractors is being recognised, and they're being fast tracked or given opportunities within Rotary when it's their time to move there. I know that it does vary a fair bit, but all I can say is we've got to continue to. I mean, we could whinge about it, or we could just get out there and lead by example and do what we do and do it well, which I think we have been doing and we can continue to do, and really just show. I don't want to make it like an us versus them. So it's show Rotary, but it's show our Rotaractors, it's show the community, it's show everyone how bloody awesome we are, really, and how we can really get some great things done and achieve some really big goals, and the rest will just follow after that.
Terrific. Elsa, you have a question?
Yes. What are some of the biggest challenges you think, like being an MDIO and getting these projects together with so many different people? What are the biggest challenges in like putting those activities together and making them effective and fun? And
this might not answer your question. I suppose the biggest challenge we face, and something that's always top of mind, is the breadth, I suppose, of our country here in Australia. So, Australia, like I said, it's almost the same area as the US, but we've only got 20-odd million people. And so our Rotaractors are spread all around the country, and it's expensive to get to places, and it's hard to drive that engagement across the country. So that's something that is the biggest challenge that we're always focused on. In terms of putting the projects and initiatives together, that's not been a big challenge at all. Where it's kind of that snowball effect where we're doing these awesome projects and initiatives, and people want to then get involved, and it goes from there. It's a snowball effect. So we're running our committees via Skype or Hangouts every couple of weeks, every 3 to 4 weeks, whatever it takes. I've just put the committee together for the Australian Rotaract Conference for 2017. So we're forward planning, sort of almost 18 months in advance. And I've got people from the committee from all around the country. And, there were people that wanted to apply internationally as well for that committee. We'll be meeting online, and I'm really confident that we've got good people, we've got passionate Rotaractors that are keen to get it done. I think a skill that I often see lacking in Rotaract and Rotary is that, and I'm biased here because I am a project manager, but it's that kind of project management element where it's just somebody to keep everyone in check, stay on top of the timeline and the deadlines.
Logistics.
Yeah, logistics, and stay focused and keep the team following through on their commitments and not allowing things to slip. The passion's there. Everyone's keen to do it. And always, work or studies or family should come first. But, to the side of that, immediately after that is our Rotaract project that we've put our hand up to commit to and deliver on. And if we've got someone there to be staying on top of it, I think that's probably been the biggest challenge or the gap. But I'm confident that we're overcoming that, and we've got the right people in place now on our committees, or the right chairs of our committees, to really drive that.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. I think we're just about out of time. So what we're going to go ahead and do is wrap up. Jake, would you like to give us some closing statements or comments, and then I'll go ahead and wrap up the meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Mitty, and thanks all for the opportunity to speak with you guys. As you can see, I'm really passionate about Rotaract and Rotary, and I'm glad that I could share some of that with you guys. Please, if nothing else, do hit us up on social media, or stay engaged, join our mailing list, and let's keep in touch, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Terrific. Well, thank you again, Jake, for speaking with us about Rotaract Australia and all of the events and activities you guys do. Thank you for watching the Rotary eClub of Silicon Valley's meeting program for this week. Right below this video, we will have links to Rotaract Australia as well as their social media links. So follow them on Facebook and definitely connect with them. So those links will be right below. And for guests and members, we do ask that you go ahead and fill in the attendance survey and leave a comment at the bottom of this meeting and just tell us what you thought. And you can even ask Jake a question and he'll respond back sometime during this week and maybe get some answers for you. Thank you again and have a great day.